And for service-based companies, client is some other, like third party, we can say. It is from different. It is not the company. It is from other source. Okay. So why I am telling you this is because okay. Why I am telling you this is because for any company, if you take whether service based or product based, the most important thing is developing the application as per the client's requirements.
Okay.
So if you see Microsoft, it is a product-based company. It uses Windows operating system or other operating systems. Red Hat gives Linux. So if you say other companies, Amazon gives AWS services. So these are product-based companies. Now, if you come to some service-based companies like Cognizant or Infosys or these companies, they will be designing the application for some other purpose. Let's suppose if this HDFC Bank, they can go and they can ask this Infosys to build an application for them. So this Infosys or this Cognizant, these companies will be getting the requirements from this bank, or not only HDFC, Citibank, or any company you take, any bank or insurance company, they'll be taking these requirements from the bank, how your business works. They'll understand the business, they'll get the requirement, and they'll develop. Now coming to Windows, means suppose Microsoft or any other companies, what these companies will do, they'll have, see, they want to give one product to the market. For them to give the product to the market, they'll come up with the business needs. Suppose why Windows is that famous, because when the hardware was designed initially, the computer was designed, but there is no perfect interactive software that communicates with hardware and that gives us a user-friendly UI. So Windows came up first with that. That is why it is still the most used operating system. So these companies, product-based companies, they'll understand the market need. Based on that need, they'll get the requirement, and then they'll develop on that. So once they get the market need and once the product is developed, they'll put one cost to it and they'll release to the market. So if you see AWS services also, if you see the cloud which came in, so all the systems, there are many. If suppose there are 1,000 employees, 1,000 CPUs, 1,000 keyboards, 1,000 monitors, 1,000 times we need to install a Windows operating system, 1,000 times we need to install antivirus, everything. But with this cloud, only one keyboard and mouse, everything will be on cloud only. So that is a need. So that is how these product-based companies will be thinking of few things. They'll be understanding the market need and they'll be designing. So for whichever company we are working or we need to work, so there will be the client need. So this client will be having some need. So what is this need is called in corporate, this is called as requirement. Okay. So requirements will be very specific. It is not like you should know, you should means, if suppose a bank, I told, like an HDFC bank, when it comes to the Cognizant or Infosys, when it comes to these companies, if it wants to login screen, this HDFC bank just doesn't say that just create a login screen for me. If the username and password is correct, enter it. It won't say like that. It will tell crystal clearly that the password should be in this position. It should be in the middle of the page, and it should not accept this many characters. It should not be in this position, and every username should be in capital letters only, and password should not accept this condition. Every condition, I want the logo to be there. HDFC logo should be on the left side top, and I want some advertisement or yes, everything means, I mean to say, every point to point they'll be clear on that. Okay. Now these things which the HDFC bank tells, or which the product based companies wants, they'll take this requirement, they'll understand it, and that requirement, they'll come. Means these are called product owners in product-based companies, and in service-based companies there will be some business analysts. Okay, these people, they'll go to these banks, they'll get the information or product, they'll get the product information, they'll come and they'll give this information to the team. Project manager, they'll give, project manager will give it to technical lead, technical lead will give to all the members of the team. So this is how the flow works. Okay, now, so as a developer, the developers and the client will be specific on the tools also if he has knowledge on them. Suppose he wants to build an application only in Java, even Angular came or Redux came, everything came. He want application in Java means they should build the application in Java only. No questions asked. Okay. So that to that extent it will be. So the client that is the main thing I want to make it clear that client is the owner of his product. So if he say that only your password should be accepted, then only password be accepted. We can't, these companies can't go and question that how password be accepted. They can't question it. They can suggest, but they can't decide because the client is paying money to them. When they're paying money, they'll get what they wanted, not what we wanted. As a company, what the company wanted, they won't be getting. They want what they want. So this will be the process. So when a requirement comes to a person, if he is a developer, the developer will understand which technology he should. They'll be deciding on some tech tools or technologies on which the application should be developed. So a developer will be developing his. With his skills, he'll be developing the application as the requirement. If the requirement say that icon should be here, this one should be there, he'll be designing all the application. Now, as a QA person, you should take the requirement and you should see that how to break this developer's code to suit the requirement. So you should, again, I'm making a statement. You should, as a tester or QA person, you should see how you can break the developer's code to that suits the requirement. Okay. So that is what tells about what is manual testing. Okay, manual testing is a process of testing the software for defects. Okay, now here again when you're breaking the developer's code to suit the requirement, to verify the requirement is working in all the conditions, then whenever you break the code, that is called a defect. Okay, manual testing is a process of testing the application for defects. It requires a tester to play the role of an end user and use most of the features of the application to ensure correct behavior. So now it is on the part of QA or tester that he should be testing the application thinking that he is a bank employee and he is using the software. Okay, in that way he should be keeping in mind and he should be testing. For that, if you want to be in that position, the basic thing is you need to know the business, how the bank business works. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, developers are developers will be good with the technology, but they won't be good with business. So that is what a catching point for us. Based on that knowledge, we'll be testing the application, and then we'll be identifying defects, and we'll be informing it to the developers. Now, so for whichever need that application is designed should be as an end user. End user means the person who uses the application at the final, at the end. At the end, if you are designing an application for bank application, the bank employees will be using it. So you should be in the shoes of end user and test the application. And the other second part of this is you need to test the application in all the scenarios. Okay. So if you tell when you're in a banking sector, if you're there and if you want to transfer money, so it is not enough if when you see this Citibank or HDFC Bank, there will be an option NEFT transfer. In India, I see I don't know about this foreign country, what the terminology they use. But NEFT transfer is when you're transferring it to the another bank account during the banking hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you test that scenario and if you say that it is working fine, that is not correct. There is another type of transfer also, even if it is not a banking hour, and if you want to transfer money to anyone, IMPS transfer is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means as an end user, you need to test in all the way possible, all the scenarios.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
to ensure the completeness of testing, the tester often follows a written test plan that leads them through a set of important test cases. Okay, so it seems when you're working on this manual testing, it seems to be a very what tiresome thing writing the test cases. But trust me, you should write the test cases first before testing, because you'll be able to identify the different scenarios to break the developer's code. So
Yeah.
what are these test cases? So these test cases are nothing but, suppose if you want to have a login and password, or if you are transferring some amount to some one bank to another, then in what all ways, if you test the application, we will be able to find some defects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is what we need to document it. So documentation is important. That document for breaking the for means for the plan for writing the test cases, the document is called test cases. This document contains all the possible ways. We'll be listing out all the possible ways on how we can break the developer's code to suit the requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to write the document, but basically no one writes it. Basically they won't write prior to testing. They'll write after testing. But I strongly recommend, based on experience, I'm just telling you, I strongly recommend to write before testing only, because you'll find more scenarios there.
Okay.
Okay. And how the testing document will be, how we will do, I'll cover in the coming classes. But so this is what is testing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if suppose you are working for an org and you are working for you are working in a you are working as a QA position, then your capability as a manager, if a manager looks at your work, means if you want to check how Shweta is performing, he will check for the number of defects you raised.
Okay.
So that is the only criteria where a tester can be measured.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, coming to content of manual testing. So manual testing I'll be covering means for few slides, coming few slides I'll be covering about software quality assurance, what is verification, what is validation, what is software lifecycle models, what are software lifecycle models, and why we need testing, testing lifecycle, and testing techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now coming to software quality assurance. So the purpose of software quality assurance is to provide management with appropriate visibility into the process being used by the software project and of the products being built. So, see, whichever I am covering now,
Mm-hmm.
it let me go to slide one. So here, software life cycles, right? So I'll be covering, there are four models here. Software testing models, means software development models, software life cycles. So beside all this, I'll be telling you about the agile model, and whichever concepts I am just telling you here. If you see in the first slide also, if you see a term, a wording, or a corporate used word, test plan. So these things are documents that we maintain while we are doing testing. But coming to the new process, in which every industry is currently using, that is agile model, these documents won't be.
On
Okay, they won't be using any documentation.
Okay.
Agile model has the minimum documentation. It prefers the rule. Agile model says that the document should be very minimal.
Okay.
Okay. Now, why I just made this statement is because if you see the software quality assurance definition or verification or validation, these all are related to some documentation. So which we are not following. But still, why you can ask me why I am covering this. These are important for interviews.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Coming to the software quality assurance. Software quality assurance is will provide the management means will provide to the higher management some documentation on how we are going to develop the product and how we are going to validate it. So these documents are viewed, these documents are needed or viewed or required to the higher management for them to verify that the application development that is going on is as per the process and is as per some standards.
Mm-hmm.
So that is software quality assurance. Software quality assurance involves reviewing and auditing of software products. So we'll be reviewing the some product that we are designing and auditing. Auditing is also like testing, but it is like a third party verification.
Mm-hmm.
Test software quality assurance is done by our company, means if you are working in a company, we'll be doing. But basically in IT, if you say there is an audit, that means that audit is done by third party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there will be hiring some third party vendors. They'll come and they won't basically test the application, but they'll be seeing whether the application is as per standards or not. Okay, it is an activity to verify application procedure and standards. So software quality assurance is a activity to verify the application procedures and standards. So all this deals with the procedure and standards only, and provides the software product and other results of this use and audit. So basically, when you say that you are done with testing, 1 minute. One minute, just hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just expecting. Okay. So the thing is, and provides the software product. Yes. So when we are saying that our testing is completed, there are some documents that we need to give from our end to the client. So client, see if we tell the client that we have designed your application is working fine, it is super extraordinary. If we say, he'll ask what is the proof.
Mm-hmm.
So for that proof, we need to maintain some results and we need to give it to the client. Some documentation we need to have and we need to give it to the client. Okay. So verification and validation, this is an important interview question. So what is verification and what is validation? Validation is will be so basically the major difference is uh, if suppose if you have an application in your system and if you're literally putting your hand means if literally putting your efforts in testing the application, that is called validation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, verification is so when you're doing when you're testing or when you're developing or when you're getting the requirements, you want to see that requirements are consistent. The requirements should be consistent. Suppose if you say first day, if the client comes and say, I need a login page before logging into my application. So after 1 week, he'll say that login or the login screen, just don't have the login screen. View the home page directly. After that, he'll come and say, this home page is also okay, good, but I want a login above that. That means if there should be a consistency in what he says and consistency in our development also. So that means it is basically the difference here is we are literally putting efforts into testing the application is validation. But verification is before validating it, we want to have some some basement to do that verification, validation. Sorry. Okay. The basement is the requirement should be consistent. It should not be changing all the time, and the requirement should be correct. So we'll be verifying that. In verification, we will be verifying whether the requirements are correct or not. In verification, we will be verifying whether the requirements are consistent or not. And in verification, we will be verifying whether requirements are complete or not. Okay.
Okay.
So these three things will be verifying. So in these three things, while verifying these three things, we are not going to put any effort into it. Means testing or doing or nothing we are going to do. We are not going to literally work on the application. It is setting the basement so that the application will be built properly. So this is verification. And validation is we'll be validating the application. Once we after the verification is done, after everything is clear, the developers will be developing the code. And once the developers develop the code, we'll be getting the application. Now when we get the application, we need to test on it, whether it is working fine or not, or are there any breaks in this, or did the developers design the application as per the requirement. So all these things will be verifying. Anything that breaks the developer's code during this phase is raised as a defect and assigned to the developer. Okay. So validation typically involves actual testing. It takes place after validation or validations are completed. After verifications, I think it is a typo. Verifications are completed. The determination of correctness of a final program with respect to its requirement. Yes. So after this, we'll be determining the final output, and we'll be and we should be verifying which should be with respect to the requirement. The final output should be correct with respect to the requirement. Okay. Now coming to software lifecycle models. See this there are many lifecycle models. So prototyping model, waterfall model, spiral model, and V model. So I gave this four for your interview. If they ask if you know any software lifecycle model, you can mention four. But if they ask you, did you work on four? Mention that you did not work on four. Means there are five. You can include Agile also. Agile I did not include here because I will be covering it in other pages. That is more important than these 3-4.
Okay.
But when it comes to interview and if you are putting up an experience of 8 or 6 years, just tell them that I have experience on waterfall model and then currently I am working on agile model you tell. But if you're putting up experience for 3 years, then directly tell that I know these 4 to 5 models, but I did not work on any other model except agile.
Okay.
Okay. So
before they used to use waterfall model.
Yeah, actually it came with the prototyping model.
Okay.
Then after that, I think spiral model, after waterfall model, and then V model, and then agile.
In between, it's V model.
Yes, V model was more efficient than waterfall model. Yes.
Okay, so it's like if they ask, we need to say even V model.
No. Don't. No. One thing is, I will be covering waterfall model.
Okay.
Okay. You also tell the same, but if you don't want to tell waterfall model, if you want to go with V model, tell only V model. My point is, in these 5 models, in these 4 which you are seeing now, tell only one.
Oh, okay.
In that one, I mostly prefer to tell waterfall model or V model. Or V model is fine, but don't tell about prototype model and spiral model. They're very old, so don't use them. So V model also is good, but I prefer waterfall model because you won't be getting more questions on that. So that is why.
Waterfall model.
Yes, correct.
Okay, V model has more questions.
Yeah, you will get more questions.
Okay.
and it is difficult to understand also. For a non-real-time employee, it is difficult to understand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now coming to waterfall model. I'm just removing this. Okay, fine. Yeah. So this is waterfall model. Actually, in the starting of the session, when I told about service, product-based and service-based companies, I covered that model, but you really don't know which will start. So I'll be telling you. First is your requirement gathering phase. Okay. Then design phase. Analysis phase. Okay. Then development phase. Then testing phase. Then comes what they call, they'll be handing over to client. This phase is called, 1 minute. Okay, let me tell this phase. Okay, I'll just Google by the end. Okay, so first is requirement gathering phase. So requirement gathering phase is in this phase, as I told, a person from our company, if it is a service-based company, a person from the company, they go to the client's location, or client will come to this company's location, anywhere, anything is fine. But the main point is they'll be collecting the requirements from the client. So the collecting the requirements can be done in any ways, either that is up to the product owner or the business analyst, their wish. So some will be recording, some will be writing up, some will be documenting, some will be anything. So it is on their hand how they'll get that thing, but they need to get the requirements. So that is called requirement gathering phase. So once the requirements are gathered, they'll come and they'll come to us. So if they're in they went to other location, that is why they'll be giving B1 visas, business visas, and other visas they'll be getting. So the reason is they'll be going for only 1 to 2 months. In these 2 months, they'll be getting the requirements and they'll be coming back to the company, and then they will have a meeting. That meeting is basically called as kickoff meeting. So what is this meeting? What this meeting does is they'll have the project manager, some high-level architects, some higher position architects who are working for the company or who are recruited for the developing the product. This architect, this manager, senior project manager, everyone, they'll be having a meeting and they'll discuss on the requirements. Once they have the requirement, they'll be discussing on that. Okay. After discussing, means in this discussion, this is not after discussion. So in this discussion, they'll come up with a design plan, means how to implement, what all things we need to consider. So what are the technologies we can use? Did the client mention any technologies? On what technology he wants, or what technology, if he did not mention on what technology we need to develop. All these things they'll be deciding, and they'll design some process. So after this process, they have decided with resources. Means if they want to do in AngularJS or Java, they'll be hiring Java resource. They'll be hiring QA people. They'll be hiring now currently Jenkins are there. They'll be hiring DevOps people. All these people they'll be hiring. So after that, in analysis phase, now in this phase they'll be checking whether means there'll be the architecture analysis will be in analysis phase. They'll be deciding about the architecture. So how the architecture should be, how it should start, how the development should go on. All this they'll be deciding. Once they decide, they'll come up with the requirements. They'll design a requirement specification document. You know, to remember this document because it is no more followed. Means Agile doesn't follow this. So they'll be designing a requirement specification document, RSD, and they'll be giving it to the development team, and they'll be giving it to the testing team. The last phase is UFT. User UTF. Okay, that I'll tell you. Okay, this requirement specification document, they'll be giving it to the developers and developing team, and they'll be giving it to the testing team. So what they need to do is they'll be getting the requirement, they'll be understanding the requirement, whether this requirement means everyone will be having their own way of understanding the requirements. So developers will understand the requirements on their understanding, and they'll develop the application. Testers, they'll understand the requirements based on their understanding and test the application as per their understanding. So when they raise defects, there will be a conflict with developers and testers. Finally, the requirement will be more clear, and the development will be more into that, and it will be towards the requirement. And once it is as per the requirement, then it will go to user acceptance test, UAT. Finally, I got it. Okay. Once the testing is completed, from our side, we'll be providing some documents, our test cases, our test strategy, what all we covered in our testing, and what are the bugs we raised. Everything we'll be giving as our output of our products, and then UAT will happen. What is this UAT is? User acceptance test is. So once we are done with our testing, the first testing UAT will contain two phases. So one is alpha testing, and other is beta testing. So what is this alpha testing is? You will be seeing some products when new products are delivered by any of the companies. You'll be seeing that it is an alpha version. So what is this alpha version is? This product which is developed, it is designed and it is released to the market for getting the customer feedback. If it is a product, I'm telling you, if it is a product that was designed by a product based company, they will release the alpha version first. So in this alpha version, when they get the alpha version, they release it to the market for common people to use it or end users to use it. So when end users use it, they'll be getting the reviews from the end users that this is not working fine, or this is not user friendly, or this is taking long time. So all these requirements, they'll be getting these feedbacks from the customer, and they'll implement all these feedbacks. And then once the number of feedbacks reduced, or the number of feedbacks are zero, or it won't be zero anyways, but if the number of feedbacks reduced, and if they feel that application is working fine and it can be used by much larger audience, then they'll release the beta version. Okay. So this is the case of product-based companies. Now coming to service-based companies, how this alpha testing and beta testing goes on is, so once we say that the testing is completed in the testing phase, so one representative of the company, or one or two representatives from the company, they'll come over to the company. They'll come over to the company which developed the application, and in their environment, in the company's environment, our testing lead and development lead product manager, everyone will be involved, and they'll be giving a demo of the application we designed to the customer. Okay, this is testing in the client's environment. So when alpha there the client representatives, the two people or one person who came, he'll be verifying all his business needs are satisfied or not in that environment. If it is working fine, then he'll say that is okay, and then he'll take this product that we designed and he'll take this product and he will deploy it in their environment and he'll test it there also. That is called beta testing. So beta testing is testing the application in client's location or client's environment. So that is beta testing. If it is working fine there also, then we are good. But if it breaks anywhere, again our technical team will be going there and supporting them in installing or setting up or anything. They'll be helping. Okay. So this is about waterfall model. So just don't go with other models. Say that you know this model, but you don't know what are they. That is also fine. But basically, they'll be asking you about waterfall models. Do you know any models? Yes, this all I know, but I worked only on waterfall model, and currently I'm working on Agile. From 3 years, you say if you're putting up an experience of 8 years, say 4 to 5 years, I'm working on Agile because Agile, the word Agile is currently hot cake in the market, especially for testing and development team. Okay. So there are completely positions on Agile also. So that is very important. One more thing I just want to see. Okay, I think I did not make a note of Agile anywhere. I think it is my automation document. But at the end of this manual testing, when I say this is going to end, you ask me about Agile, okay? You don't forget it.
Okay.
If it is not covered here also, they are covering automation, that is fine.
Okay.
Okay. Software lifecycle models, okay? Now coming to testing. An examination of behavior of the program by executing a sample data sets. Yes. So set of activities to detect defects in procedure material. So basically, testing is and coming to testing also. So this is why testing, I think. This is about why we need testing. So the history before for this is why we need testing is. So why we need testing is, see, basically before testing came into picture in I think 2000 or 2005. I think it is 2000 only. So what happens in this waterfall model is developers will be developing the code and they'll be giving the code directly to the client. Now clients start testing on this, and he was facing difficulty in handling this developer's code directly because it was not as per the requirements in some cases. In some cases, even if it is as per the requirements, it will be positive only for some scenarios. So if we tell that the username should accept only 35 characters, no. If the client says if the requirement is the username should be like 35 characters and the password should be like this means, then he'll be developing the application only for that requirement.
Okay.
So he won't check the scenario for some different scenarios like without giving the username. If he just gives the password, it used to log in. Or if you give the password or username only and without giving a password, it's used to log in. So those difficulties they were facing. So for them to rectify that issues, they came up with testing. So this testing team is basically involved in business meetings. So we are basically involved in business meetings more. for us to understand the application. Once we understand the application, so we'll be testing the application perfectly. And once we test the application perfectly, then the number of issues the client faces after delivering the product will reduce. So we can give a quality product to the client. So that was why testing came into picture. Okay. So testing can be done by various process, by data set, by providing number of variables, different types of data sets. So what are the data sets is, if you want to test username and password, you can test it in a number of ways. You need to provide different types of data into it. So if we say that the username should be more than 35, it should be not more than 35 means you should test for 34 characters, you should test for 35 characters, you should test for 36 characters, you should test for all small letters, all capital letters, numbers, variables, only values. So all these things. So this is called a data set. Okay. Testing comprises of set of activities to detect defects in the produced material. Yes, produced material is nothing but it is about the test cases that we write. So writing the test cases will help us in identifying the defects. Once we identify the defects, we can assign the defect to the developer and then get it fixed if it is a valid one. Okay. Testing is used to unearth the correct defects. So yes, defects, it is not like if suppose a tester raises a defect, it is not always that the developer should fix it. Developer can basically argue on the defect. So once in the argument, if we win, then we can say that we have unearthed one of the correct defect. So we identified one of the correct defects. So there can be invalid defects also. Previously, raising an invalid defect in waterfall model was a big sin. It was like a negative point for the developer tester, but in Agile, it is not a negative point. So no one is negative or no one is taken positive. In Agile, everything is in Agile model means it can be flexible. Agile is more about flexible, I'll tell you. But rejecting a defect also happens. That is what I want to say. Okay. To detect defects early and to reduce the cost of fixing it. So what is detecting the defects early is, it is in verification phase. So what I told in verification is consistency, correctness and completeness. So if the requirement is not correct, before designing the application only we will understand that so there is some discrepancy or some disconnect between the requirement that we are understanding and the requirement that was given. So if the requirement is not correct, then we can add that BA, business analyst or product owner, they'll go to the client again and he can get it clarified. Consistency is also same and correctness is also same. By doing this verification, we can identify early defects. So by identifying these early defects, it won't be a much cost based defect. Suppose you did not do this early testing or verification, you did not do, and you implemented the application, and then now you started testing it. When you're testing it, if you find any issues, then we have to do the development again and testing again. So it is about the cost. So number of hours of the developers is spent, and in corporate every hour we will be charged on based on every hour. So the cost will increase. So early identifying of defects is done by testing team. That is why we do testing. And to avoid user detected problems. So we as a testing team, I told you we should be in the shoes of an end user and we should be testing the application. So by being in the shoes of end user, what we'll do is we'll avoid the defects that are identified by the user client when he using the application. So we'll be identifying it early and we'll be helping the client in giving him a quality product. Okay. To ensure that product works as user expected to it. Yes, by doing testing, we'll ensure that the product is working as per the client's requirement. So these are the reasons why we do testing. Okay, so this is continuation. And why testing is to detect defects early and reduce the cost of the product. So by detecting defects, I told you, we'll be reducing the cost of the product, and to ensure that the product works as user expected to it, to avoid detecting problems. Yes, to yes, these are all again repeated. Why? Okay, anyhow, so just remember these products, just remember these points, why we need testing. It can be asked in interview, but it won't be. Why we need testing, they may ask. So just have a note of it. Yes. Testing life cycle. So now here what I told, this waterfall model, it is called, it is
Software life
called, yes, software life cycle.
cycle testing.
So this is a life cycle of a software when it starts and when it ends.
Ends, yeah.
Yes. Now test life cycle is when the testing will start and when the testing will end.
And okay.
So this is about the testing life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cover this tomorrow in coming sessions.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, end of the hour. Any questions from till now?
No.
Okay. Basically,
I'll just,
manual testing. Yeah,
yeah.
manual testing will be of more of theoretical only. Okay,
Okay.
I'll be giving you about the test cases, how to design the test case, how to write the test cases, everything I'll be giving you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it'll be a bit of boring, but it goes on. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I'll just review it once, and if I have any doubts, I'll ask you tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then. I'm just stopping the recording.
Okay. Will you send the recording to me or
Yeah, Sajita will send. You can check
oh,
it.
okay.